Anyway, so there's this man, Pierre Paul Riquet, and he is a tax collector, but his passion, literally inherited from his father, is this idea of trying to find a solution for opening up the center of the southwest of France. And he's an amateur engineer.
And he wants to... Did he already know he wanted to dig a canal?
No, but he knew that...
He wanted a solution.
He wanted a solution.
Okay.
And it was really, as a boy, he would go with his father when his father with this group of men they traveled all through the southwest of this area, basically, not as far as Bordeaux, but they traveled all through this area. And they would go up and down hills and into little valleys, and they tried to figure out what the solution was. Now, I don't know exactly how he did it, but in the process of the years that he walked around with his father, and then after his father died, when he did it himself, he started to think about where he could find a source of water that would be never ending, because this was the problem. And at this point, it became the idea not of trying to connect the different rivers, but of actually building something. Now, building something means a lot of money, a lot of manpower, and it means that it's a far more complicated and sophisticated project than just the idea of trying to find a way of connecting one river to another. By the time he's 50 years old, he thinks he has come up with a solution. Now, Mr. Riquet marries a young woman who has a fortune of her own, and they proceed to have a nice big family with 6 children. And 2 of his sons, as they grow up, they start working with him on this project. But he doesn't do this with other people. He consults engineers. He consults various other technical people in the 17th century. But this is his project. This is not a collective project. And what happens is, in the year 1652, he buys a piece of land that's actually visitable now. And it has an old fortified chateau on it. And the place is called Bon Repos. And it's only 15 kilometers outside of Toulouse, up on top of a hill. But the reason he buys it is because in looking at the piece of land, it's a piece of land that's something like 20 hectares, which is about 50 acres or something like that. He sees that the lay of the land is very similar to other parts of the land a little bit further east as you go towards an area that's not very far from here called the Black Mountains. And he decides that what he's going to do, this is to show you the obsession he had, is that he's going to create a miniature version of what he thinks will work on his own land.
So he's going to test it.
He's going to test it. And so what he does is he builds 2 basins that he fills with water, and he buys for 6 years. This is fascinating because this is one of the things that I didn't know, because I knew a lot about him from having done a lot of this in terms of visits and interest over the years. He actually buys the water rights to a small river for a total of 6 years. And the water is the water that goes to a town that you and I both know, Revel, which is actually a very important market in the Middle Ages. So he actually closes off their source of water for 6 years.
How nice.
So he can funnel it into his land.
I bet they loved him.
They loved him, as you can possibly imagine. And what he does is he uses this water to create some basins, and he creates a system of canalization. The word in French is rigole, which is very strange, but it's basically large. No, it's not ditches. That's the whole point. It's not ditches. It's canalization. It's not open to the air. It's rounded, huge. It would be pipelines today. This is what we would consider to be like a huge pipeline system.
So what did he use to build the pipe?
He used stone, and he used a mortar, and he created these closed systems of I don't even know what the word is to use. I went and looked up on the internet and everything in there. There is no equivalent of that except that to imagine a big, very big pipeline kind of thing. And he tested it because one of the things he realized was, and this of course had been known before, but nobody was thinking in terms of building a structure. They were thinking still in terms of rivers.
Right.
Everybody knew, and probably even as far back as the Romans, that in the southwest of France, there is what we call in English a continental divide.
Yeah.
That is, there's a spot where the waters go on one side to the west and the other side to the east.
Sure.
Now, if you think about North America, it's in the Rockies. So everybody knows it's where there's a very, very big system of mountains.
Yeah.
But here, it's in a place where the height difference is only 172 meters.
Right. It's hilly, but it's not
It's
mountains.
just a little pimple, practically on the land. I mean, 172 meters is basically absolutely nothing. But in fact, if you stand on that spot, and you can go there and
yes.
stand on it, what happens is when you see this water that now comes down from up further north, it feeds into these huge pipes. And then all of a sudden, it's like magic. On one side, it moves to the right. And on the other side, it moves to the left. And that is literally where the waters divide.
Yeah, it's a natural.
And so what he did was he did on a scale that is exact on his land. He did the same thing. He created a spot where the waters would have to separate going east and west. And he worked it all out. And he said, okay, the idea is we have to build a canal system. And I'm going to find the place where not only is the water separating left and right, east and west, but where we can figure out how to feed the water from up
Right.
above, north.
So if you need to add more water
So
in the summer,
you don't have to worry about water ever drying up.
Right.
Now, what he didn't do,